Hi, today we're talking about 7.4. We're finally moving on to dividing fractions. And dividing and multiplying have an interesting relationship, and you'll see that here in how we treat fractions. But one of the very first things that we need to know is a new vocabulary term that we're going to be using a lot called a reciprocal. I don't know if it's something that you've heard before or not, but we're going to go ahead and get started. A reciprocal is a number that's multiplied by its reciprocal always equals 1. So for example, 3 and 1/3, when you multiply it together, when we go ahead and turn this into a fraction, we have 3 times 1 equals 3, 1 times 3 equals 3. 3 over 3 is the same thing as 1. We can find that by taking the inverse of a number. You'll notice that that 3 over 1 and 1 over 3 are inverses of each other. So we have 12. What would be the reciprocal of 12? 12 times 1/12 would equal 1. 12 times 1 is 12. 1, if this was over 1, 1 times 12 is 12. That would work. How about 5/6? How am I going to get that to equal 1? I want to go ahead and multiply it times 6/5. I'm just flipping it upside down. I'm inverting it, taking the bottom and making it the top. So I have 30 over 30, which equals 1. What about 5 and 4/9? How can I change that? How can I invert it to get the reciprocal? If you said we need an improper fraction, you're right. 5 times 9 is 45, plus 4 is 49. So this would equal 49/9. That means our reciprocal is 9 over 49. Very good. I want you to go ahead and do this bottom row on your own, and we can check that tomorrow, but I want you to find the reciprocal. Remember, a reciprocal and a number and its reciprocal always equals 1 when they're multiplied together. So let's keep moving on. Here's our saying: dividing fractions, don't ask why, just flip the second and multiply. So I want you to say it with me. Dividing fractions, don't ask why, just flip the second and multiply. You guessed it. I'm going to want you to write this down. We're going to practice this together as a class tomorrow. So you're going to want to remember, dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second and multiply. So for example, when I have 3/4 divided by 21 over 62, the first thing I want to do is flip the second one. Really what I'm doing is multiplying times the reciprocal. That's why we learned our reciprocal yesterday. So I'm going to flip it and rewrite it as multiplication. So this one stays the same. Notice it was 3/4. It is 3/4. I change it from division to multiplication. And instead of 21/62s, now I have 62 over 21. So here's my problem. We really, even though we're calling it dividing, we flip it so that it's multiplying all the time. So we're back to where we were comfortable before. Simplify before we multiply. 3 and 21 can both be divided by 3, so I replace this with a 1. I replace this with a 7. Here 62 and 4 are both even, so I'm going to divide them by 2, and I get a 2 and a 31. So now I multiply top times top to get 1 times 31 is 31. Bottom times bottom to get 2 times 7 is 14. 14 can fit into 31 twice, and I'm left with 3 left over. That is how we divide. So let's go ahead and try it again. 21/25 divided by 6/15. What's my saying? Dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second and then multiply. So I want to rewrite this as a multiplication problem. I'm going to have 21/25. This first one does not change. It was that, it stays the same. But now I want to change this to multiplication, and I have to make sure that I get the reciprocal of this. So I'm going to have 15 over 6. Now I can go ahead and multiply. I can divide this by 5 to get a 3, divide this by 5 to get 5. Both of these I can divide by 3 to get 2, divide by 3, and I get 7. So I have 7, 3, 5, and 2. I can't do anything more, so I'm going to take 7 times 3 And I'm going to take 5 times 2 to equal 21 over 10. Now I want to simplify it back into a mixed number. 10 can fit into 21 2 times. I have 1 left over, and 10 is my original denominator. So 2 1/10 is my answer. Let's do another one here. All right, I have a whole number. Remember, I don't want a whole number, so I'm going to switch it. So then I rewrite it as 15 over 1 times 4/3. Remember, I switch that, I get the reciprocal. Now I can divide this by 3. I can divide this by 3. I'm left with 5 over 1 times 4 over 1, which equals 20 over 1, or we would just write it as 20 is my answer. I'm going to go ahead and have you try one. When we look at this, let's go ahead and take 3/4, and we're going to divide it by, let's say, 3/8. How about that? 3/4 divided by 3/8. I want you to go ahead and figure out how to do that. Remember, dividing fractions, don't ask why. Flip the second one and then change it to multiply. I will check your answer when we get back to class tomorrow. Have a great night, and I will see you in class.